Excellent house.
Hi, my name is Matthew Bouvier, otherwise known as Molotov, my stage name. I live here in the Bay Area in Richmond, California, but originally I'm from Syracuse, New York, home of the New York State Fair, and my occupation is a showman. Sword swallowing is an art that was very popular at the beginning of our century, when you would find it at every circus, sideshow, state fair, vaudeville, dime museum, burlesque house, etc. I learned sword swallowing from two people who owned a circus, C.M. Christ and Ward Hall, of the World of Wonder show. And I worked in their show as a sword swallower and fire eater and knife thrower from 2000 up till 2002, where I was taught how to swallow swords, sabers, bayonets, daggers, scabbards, all kinds of different things like that. And my brother's an industrial engineer, and my father's a mechanical engineer. And in the beginning, they were like, "What?" They didn't understand it. But then, throughout the years, I never gave up on it. And now I have a Wild West show. I have a Wild West Follies, a big stage show. So, I'm able to support myself and do all right with it. So they're fine with it. They kind of like that now. It's like they're kind of like so square and normal that they like to be like, "Oh, well, my other son is is this performer in the circus," and it's kind of makes them feel good. You're proud of it. Well, first you need to be trained by a professional sword swallower that can tell you the correct way to do it. And you just have to really be aware of your throat and not agitate. Like right now, I can feel like I kind of like scratched it a little bit doing the double sword, so I just want to go easy and apply lots of bourbon liberally helps. The worst is if you bruise it and you can't. That's excruciating to do. Just to swallow is like so hard. You don't realize how often you swallow during the day. And when you can't swallow, you want to swallow more. But that probably was like when I self-taught myself sword swallowing. Probably in like 1999, I tried to sword swallow, and I bruised my esophagus, and it was very painful. I never tried it again until I joined the sideshow in 2000, and they showed me this tried and true way. Well, my main act that I do now, I just Molotov, the gypsy cowboy. I do knife throwing, whip cracking, and trick roping. I used to do trick shooting and gun spinning. I don't anymore, but I've had trained animals, trained pigs, donkey, dog. I do the sword swallowing, fire eating, all kinds of torture acts, fakir acts, the bed of nails, the human pincushion, the blockhead, glass eating, the bladder of blades. But there's not as much call for that anymore. And people usually want sword swallowing. It's like the most popular and flashy. Yeah, so this is what I call a saber, a cavalry saber, replica of the Civil War. I mean, they replicated it by like wrapping the handle. That's sort of how they did it. And the sword was a much longer, but I cut it down so that I feel it's always better when the sword you can go all the way to the hilt. You don't ever want to touch the bottom of your stomach. It's most people would never be able to do that, but if you do, it's incredibly painful. It's like getting punched in the. It'd be like for a guy getting punched in the nuts, like 20 times repeatedly. It's so painful. So you don't ever want to touch your stomach. But then if you want to get a long sword down, like if you're competing with somebody, like why would you want to compete with a sword? But we do from time to time. So the trick is you would eat a huge meal. So your stomach is distended. So your stomach is just hanging as low as possible. So I could actually swallow the 30-incher and like my lips just touch the hilt. So sometimes you want to eat a lot before you swallow a sword because then you're like able to like swallow a really long sword. There's guys when I say they're like, dude, 9 inches, that's way above average. But I'm sorry, but for me, 9 inches is the smallest I get. Hey! Sorry. All I have are dick and gauge outs. I'm sorry, I'm a sword swallower. That's all I got. I'm very happy. I love what I do. I love being an entertainer. I love working with other entertainers. I get a big kick being on stage, constantly learning new things. I'm learning all kinds of marketing and all different things that I probably never would have touched if I had just stayed as a social servant. I'm happier. I'm healthier. I train all the time, so it's a really great lifestyle, show business. But the price you pay, it's a hot, she's a jealous bitch. You always have to be there. You always have to be working on it. I mean, you can attest to this. Refurbishing a new show right now, so I'm there 24 hours a day practically. So, it's intense and it takes a lot of energy. But I feel there's nothing like it. I mean, I feel that I'll be working a show. I'll be in show business till I'm in my grave.